Hello everyone, I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to my channel. It's called McDuff_2020. And tonight a special presentation for you. This is a compilation of excerpts from my previous channel that was taken down, and specifically to introduce what is SACSA, S-A-C-S-A, the agency that McDuff, my father, worked for during the last 10 years of his life. And George Webb has put together for me as a great kindness and help to all of us to understand my dad's career and the context of it by putting together this compilation. So without further ado, I'm going to share it with you right now. But I want to concentrate starting at the time that my father, who has been a career FBI special agent, is drafted to become a counterinsurgency planner for a brand new agency called SACSA. SACSA, Special Assistant for Counterinsurgency and Special Activities. Who has been a career FBI special agent. That office doesn't exist anymore, but it did exist for over 10 years. And that's when my father worked there. And the office, SACSA, that they're creating is in order to coordinate the instructions from the President or the National Security Council into military action. Office doesn't exist. Special operations. The active work that was required for this task, for the most part, took place in the services. But the three services had always been running each office independently. During the 5 years I ran that office in the Air Force, there was an Army counterpart and a Navy counterpart. And although we worked together frequently, it was more or less an ad hoc arrangement. We worked together like for the Bay of Pigs, because we had to. It was a necessity, but we didn't work together on policy matters or on budget matters. And yet the infrastructure was all in place. The Special Forces increase at Fort Bragg was in place. The Navy SEAL teams were already in place. I had opened up a big base for the CIA at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. And we had moved CIA aircraft down there in 1959, a year before the election. We had the Air Commandos established and stationed right next to Eglin at Hurlburt Air Force Base. Everything was already in place. There wasn't anything the Kennedy administration could do to change that. As a result, there had to be some top echelon to govern or to direct their activities. But SACSA was not a command situation. What SACSA did was to provide the Joint Chiefs of Staff with the information necessary so they would understand the functional employment, or they would be able to make use of the functional employment of these rather large organizations which were in existence around the world. Because Alan Dulles, who was still the director, had just lived through the shambles of the Bay of Pigs, had sat through all the hearings that were presided over by Maxwell Taylor when they reviewed the Bay of Pigs, and now he finds out that what Kennedy does as a result of all this is to say that you, General Leimnitzer, are to be my advisor. In other words, I'm not going to depend on Alan Dulles and the CIA. Historians have glossed over that, or don't know about it. Introducing us to the secret team. For the purposes of this historical study, the word team is most significant. It is well known that the members of the team, as in baseball or football, are skilled professionals. under the direct control of someone higher up. They do not create their own game plan. They work for the coach and their owner. There is always some group that manages them and calls the plays. Team members are like lawyers and agents. They work for someone. Team members generally do not plan their work. They do what their client tells them to do. For example, this is true of agents of the Central Intelligence Agency. It is a, quote, agency, unquote, and not a, quote, department, unquote. And its employees are highly skilled professionals who perform functions their craft demands of them. Thus, as long as we are talking about intelligence as an advisory and staff function, when we come into the field of clandestine operations and the inner and most secret pecking order of the secret team, we find a totally different situation. This is as Allen Dulles planned it. His biggest cover story of all was the fact that he served as the DCI and that his most able agents were not in the field waging an active campaign against the enemies of the United States, but were serving inside the government of the United States and inside of many greatly influential non-government areas to create a secret team that dominated the entire operational activity of the United States government in peacetime.